Hello and good day everyone. I will be sharing you my concept paper in regarding to my research, and it is about the perception and attitudes of Philippine Normal University Mindanao students towards student mothers, a public opinion study. This research focuses more on identifying the basic perception that comes to mind from the Philippine Normal University Mindanao students when the subject of student mothers are mentioned. This is to stimulate an outsider's view towards the student mothers. Specifically, it will answer the following profile of the respondents, which is their ethnicity, religion, age, sex, gender, civil status, and financial status. It also figures out the initial impressions of the student mothers and the influential basis for their ideas or their answers, which is composed of their religion, family values, cultural beliefs, social media, friends, and others, if they have additional points for that. And next will be to observe how much of a difference in opinion can context of such situations provide. Um, in the later questions, they will be provided with various contexts in regards to the student mothers themselves. And lastly, on how they formulate their their thought process regarding the subject matter. It is in a mix of being influenced by other forces such as religion, um, the family values, principles, their friends, as mentioned from the profile of the respondents. Next will be the rationale of the study. The public opinion can reshape how each individual may act upon to a particular action and will impose punishment if it violates the ethical norm in accordance for its subjective severity. Such punishments are mainly conducted in a form of ostracism and verbal abuse or verbal degradation. This one of the reasons why the research had been pursued is it can have an effect as it can hinder the effectiveness and focus of student mothers who are trying to study opinions and perception of a particular subject can have an effect to those who are targeted, and the purpose for this is to find out the opinions of such characters. In this case, it is the student mother. And also, it gives the reason for conducting such an action is need for satisfaction. By following the majority, it fulfills that condition by legate anymore. By abiding the majority rule, practitioners of ostracism feels that they are part of that group or community, as humans in general are social beings and are always looking for ways to connect with other human beings or other entities. And to be part of such community, they must have a commonality or to have common goals or to have common ideas. Some may force their own ideas onto others, while some are forcing themselves to follow such ideas by the majority. And also, having said about the majority rules when it comes to public opinion, it can lead to mass mobbing or mass bullying or mass opinions towards a particular individual who are deemed to be student mothers. And if such ostracism and prejudice or stereotypical ideas were to be formed within that community, the student mothers will lose their focus to, well, study for their own education and future. and also not just in the particular social stage, but having a child, particularly a younger one, demands time allocation that could have been assigned for high quality time by Conway, 2021. The initial burden as a student mother must be also taken into account, not just from the social or the community peer pressure are the challenges of a student mother, the but also their own challenges of taking their own child, and to further burden them from the social aspect or to the external forces, the mother would lose their focus on more for their studies and their own livelihood. Also, the theoretical framework that will be used for the study is the symbolic interactionism, as it is defined by the use of language, systematic symbols, or any type of way to convey our thoughts and or feelings by Stryker 2017. Well, what this means is that a particular object can be subjected to public opinion when it has an initial effect or initial ideas being labeled as. Let's take, for example, the gay community back at 1950s when the war ended. The homosexuals were seen as how do we say it? Were seen as sinful, as in the traditional sense or in the religious viewpoint. It is a sin to go against the will of the God, and that's the belief of the people, and they try to label such groups as something degrading, like they are creatures in, that are in possession of the devil. They can also be labeled as something that is just plain gross to them, and also are associated for sexually transmitted diseases or known as AIDS, because it was pretty common back from homosexuals to contract these types of diseases, although the heterosexuals are also susceptible to this, but homosexuals are being used as a symbol for such bad characteristics. And for social learning theories, that according to Bandura and Walters from 1977, social theory explains the process of learning is through observing others, and with also the inclusion of factors such as the environment, cognition, and behavior that influence the interpretation for learning. Now, the focus of this study is to know the opinions of the public or the masses on what they have an idea when a topic of student mothers were to be discussed. To understand such an opinion can leave an impact on how such individuals may act upon when they see an individual personally or in real life. Depending on the opinions that we get, we can conclude on what type of actions that they will take when they are faced with such situations. And also, lastly, it will be Baker's labeling theory, according to Tannenbaum and Goffman from 2021. If a label were to be assigned towards someone, it engraves itself to that individual's self-concept, reshaping their actions that leads to the very label that was given. Social theory and Becker's labeling theory really synchronizes very well in terms of their effectiveness, because when the social learning theory being applied to the public will have their own initial ideas on who to follow based on what they learn in the social stage. If the majority agrees upon a specific thing to be unacceptable, then the rest of the groups would also follow suit on what is decided. And Baker's labeling theory dictates that when a specific individual fills a specific category or a specific role that has been seen by the majority, then they will start to have stereotypical ideas labeling the individuals. To take into more detail, let's take the example of student mothers. The student mothers are associated with financial instability, social unrest, also educationally lacking, due to being focusing to their offsprings. And with such labels being given to the student mothers, labeling theory said that when someone is being given the idea that they are such individuals or such characteristics that they had stood upon, is that they will act upon it. Let's take, for example, that when not, let's take in more detail about student mothers, that when a student mother is again being labeled as financially unstable, then the student mother will give in to the ideas that they are actually um, financially unstable, or how about educationally lacking, even though the student mother is trying their best to study an educational course that they want. They will start to believe that the majority is right and will not believe in their own capabilities, leading to a self-actuating prophecy. For the methods that will be used is that this study shall be conducted as a vignette-based quantitative research. The approach will be in survey form with the use of an online medium or Google form. There will be 5 participants per section or / major of the first year to the third year level. The reason why the fourth year levels are exempted to this is because they are also busy with their own field studies and cannot be contacted further as they are already in field. For the method, for further elaboration of the methodology, is that the basis for the scaling and reasoning is that the participants will be given various contexts like student mothers with no situation provided, as it serves as a blank slate for the initial purpose or initial opinions. It's just a word of student mother. That's it. No context given. But the number 2, or the next example, would be that this one is that the student mother and the father planned to raise a child. And also the next one would be the student mother was accidentally conceived. At number 4 is that the student mother was forcefully conceived, and lastly the father was forced to conceive the student mother. Such scenarios from the vignette questions are not limited to this and are various or are varied for changes or subjected to changes. The respondents, based upon the context given, will give or base their scoring with the use of the Likert scale. Also, to know the relevance on why it is vignette based is that it is to gauge the morality and perception of the participants, as student mothers face various situations that they are not fully in control, or actually in control, depending on the situation that they are in, and that contexts are very varied depending on the student mothers themselves. I think that's all of my proposal to the research. That's my concept paper, and here are my references.